Hello, I'm Dr. Stephen Franson from The Remarkable Practice. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Remarkable Practice Academy. I am sure that you will find that each of these videos will bring huge value as standalone segments, but together they create a comprehensive training system that will equip and empower you to build your own remarkable practice. So train hard, your town is counting on you. Remember, you're in the business of saving lives, so when business is good, everybody wins. Hello and welcome back. So we've made it to the Report of Findings episode, which is actually a series of episodes. We will break down the report process into the following modules. The general report of findings, which I often refer to as the group report of findings, which again may be delivered as a group or as an individual. It doesn't matter. The content and the flow are nearly the same. This is where we review the information that every patient should know before we review their individual findings. This is where we are preparing the patient for their individual report. Then there's the individual report part 1, which we call the knee to knee, where you're confirming subluxation and accepting the case. Next up, the individual report part 2, the findings review, where you review the specific findings from the patient's examination. In our office, this is the X-ray review. Your clinic may vary. This may be the thermal study review or your core score review or posture pictures, whatever. Then it is time for the recommendations for care report. This is where we will get the 3 commitments. The first is the time commitment. The second, the energy commitment. And then finally, the money commitment. Of course, we will do a thorough study of each of these critical steps in the report process as a dedicated module in the Remarkable Conversion System. I liken the conversion process to the way that Tarzan makes his way through the jungle, swinging from vine to vine. You must know exactly where you're going at all times. You must know where the next vine is, and more importantly, your patients must be following you the whole way. Any missing vines, any break in clarity, and the patient will drop off. Becoming a master of the conversion process is like being a champion in the CrossFit Games. I love what 3-time CrossFit champion Rich Froning says about winning the games. You don't have to be great at anything, but you have to be good at everything, and you can't suck at anything. I think that pretty much sums it up. So let's get started. It's time to dive the general report of findings. So I like to describe the general report of findings in 3 distinct elements. There's the intro, there's the body, and then there's the outro. In our office, we do group reports. So there may be 2 or 3 or 4 people in a group receiving this general report of findings. Now, don't let this concept derail your thought process. You are doing groups, you just happen to be doing groups of 1, as I've said before. It's a lot easier to think about it that way because the language is going to remain the same. If and when you decide to go to groups, whether it's groups of 2 or 3 or more, it'll be much easier for you to make that transition. So just think about it as groups of 1, and don't let that term throw you. So in the intro, the purpose of the intro is really to welcome people back and sort of settle them down. And they may be thinking, why am I here with a group of people? Who are these strangers? And God forbid, he's going to review my findings in front of everybody. So the purpose here is just to simply settle down the group so that they can focus and listen to you. I like to say that, the doctor will be with you in just a moment. Usually it's a CA or an associate doctor that'll do this for us in our office. In a moment, you'll get an opportunity to meet with the doctor privately and individually, where the doctor will review with you your results from your recent examination and x-ray. Again, that will be done privately in the doctor's individual report. First, the doctor would like for you to watch this short 7-minute orientation video so that you'll understand your report better. We do leverage a video for our report. So then the segue is into the video, which makes up the body of our content. And then we go into the outro, which is where the doctor, the exam doctor or the associate doctor or the reporting doctor steps in and teaches patients how to read x-rays essentially by reviewing the phases of subluxation degeneration and then orienting them back to those 3 most important questions. That is known as the outro. So the overriding narrative here is that the purpose of the general report of findings is to prepare the patient for their individual report of findings. So always, begin with the end in mind. Know that momentarily you're going to be asking the patient to read their findings back to you, okay? And you want to prepare them and equip them to be able to do that successfully. Now, you may be using video or delivering a live or verbal report. And if you're doing that, I suggest that you'll use a PowerPoint just to gain the visual learning benefits of a PowerPoint. And it also is going to help you stay focused and keep you on track. What I'd like to be able to do now is just briefly review the fundamental concepts that I believe should live in your presentation. Number one, I like to come out of the gate just to sort of capture their attention and engage the listener by leveraging what's called breaking the guessing machine. I want to interrupt their normal thought process, right? So I like to start off with, straight out of the gate, a welcome back. I'm going to start with 2 facts, okay? And number one is that we all should have had our spines checked by a chiropractor the day that we were born. Okay, because stress on the body is cumulative. And then I'll break into causes of subluxation from a top-level perspective, describing, the 3 T's, the thoughts and the toxins and the traumas, etc. I'll talk about the implications of subluxation on a top level, and then common symptoms and conditions related to subluxation, briefly. And then number 2, the second fact is that you don't typically feel subluxation. What you may feel are the symptoms of long-standing nerve irritation, okay? And then review other common complaints and presentations. But these symptoms typically show up at the end of the problem, not at the beginning, okay? So what I'll tell you guys is a popular request has been for me to include a PowerPoint deck to be used for your general report. Well, I want you to know I've heard you loud and clear, and I will produce one for you in the future as part of a larger project for the Remarkable Practice. We'll be creating a pre-reported findings video for you to use as well, and you can use it in your practice. Once that's ready, you'll simply press play and you'll let me do your general report for you. So stay tuned for that. But for now, and for the sake of overview, let's talk more about your general report. And let's hit some of the high points that should definitely be included in your report process. So make sure to talk about the global health crisis that we're dealing with. I mean, let's talk about our current reality and make sure that they understand the magnitude of our current desperate situation. But don't get lost too much in too many statistics and research findings, which of course should be part of your discussion, but you want to make sure that people are not able to just sort of disengage and disassociate themselves from such a big problem. Sometimes that happens where the problem is so big that we can't even relate to it and it just doesn't seem relevant to our lives. Make sure that you zoom in and you make sure that they understand that what you're talking about here today is a personal health problem. Make sure that you're related to them as a person, their spouse, their children, their family. Make it their problem. I also want to make sure you address the paradigm issue. Okay, most people don't even realize they have a paradigm, never mind realize that they're operating in a sickness model. Okay, so I think it's important that we shine a light on the disparity between the sickness model and the wellness model and differentiate those two. Make sure that they understand that this practice operates and you're a doctor that operates under the wellness model and inside of the wellness paradigm. Make sure that they recognize and understand that you believe that the body is designed to be healthy, that the body's intelligent, and that there's an innate intelligence that runs your body, that regulates all function of your body. Most importantly, that intelligence heals your body. Make sure they appreciate and understand the nervous system, the parts of the nervous system, the role of the nervous system, and most importantly, that innate intelligence flows across that nervous system. Then teach them that their spine is their suit of armor. And ultimately, I like to teach people that if you want to be truly healthy, you need to have a healthy nervous system. And if you want to have a healthy nervous system, then you must have a healthy spine. Help them understand and see that it's our unnatural way of living today, our modern life that has created terrific stress on our body. And it's that stress from our choices and our lifestyle, this unnatural lifestyle, that creates sickness and disease. Help them understand that the sources of stress are things like thoughts and toxins and traumas. Introduce the concepts of macro versus micro traumas so that they really get a sense of the causes of subluxation. Ultimately, you want to make sure that your patients walk out of there with an understanding of the following. What is subluxation? They definitely want to have a concept of what subluxation is. And number two, what does subluxation cause? This is a perfect opportunity to introduce symptoms and conditions by leveraging case studies. Introduce some real people, some real stories, guys. Remember, as human beings, we learn through stories, and nothing's more effective than stories about people. So use your cases, use success stories to just begin to introduce the concept of what subluxations cause and how these things typically present in people's lives. Talk about symptoms and conditions through the lives of patients that you've had success with. Talk about the life effect. Talk about specifically to these cases how subluxation and the symptoms and conditions that resulted from the subluxation were impacting their lives. The life effect is really the big problem here, okay? Make sure you talk about and highlight exam results. Show them what postures look like in these cases. Show them what normal healthy looks like, and then show them these people. Show them what the thermography study looked like or the core score. Show them what the x-rays look like or the leg checks. Whatever you're using for objective criteria, bring that into the discussion of these cases so people understand what subluxation is, what it looks like on a person, and what subluxations cause. Then, very importantly, what causes subluxation? This is a place that I see chiropractors falling down on a regular basis. Make sure people expand their understanding of what causes subluxation beyond just car accidents, slips and falls, and sports injuries, etc. Make sure that they understand that it's our modern lifestyle, our unnatural lifestyle that's creating these stressors on our spine and on our nervous system. Help them understand that sitting is the new smoking, and spending all the time in front of a computer. When you're not on a computer, you're in front of your tablet or your cell phone, right? Make sure that they understand that these are consistent, constant, cumulative stresses on our body, and this is really what causes subluxation regularly. So they'll begin to get a concept of why somebody would want to get their spine and nervous system checkup regularly. Okay, so how do you correct subluxation is the next concept that they should understand. Again, go back to these case studies. Talk about, when these patients presented what was going on with them, these were their goals. This is what they were trying to accomplish. We gave them recommendations for care. We told them the protocols, and discuss your protocols, unpack your protocols a bit. Set their expectations and begin to shape their expectations for what you're going to be telling them. If you have 3 case studies that you're going over and you start talking about this is what the person was trying to accomplish, these were their immediate goals, they wanted to get rid of the migraine headaches, but they wanted to get back to running, and eventually they wanted to run the marathon. This guy had sciatica. His immediate goal was to get rid of the sciatica, but the short-term goals were to be able to get back to the gym and work out and do CrossFit. And his long-term goals is he wanted to compete in the regional games in 2 years, right? So he had immediate goals, short-term goals, and long-term goals. We took that into account and we created recommendations, and these were the protocols that we followed to help this patient, this case, reach their goals. Start to unpack those protocols so they really get a sense of what's coming for them. Talk about the time, talk about the energy that the person invested, talk about the adjustments in the adjustment schedule, and that the person was a perfect patient, and that's why that got great results. Make sure that they get a sense that you've created a formula, that this is a system, okay, and that there's a program that people follow. And the results, of course, are awesome. So you want to talk about before and after. Establish that social proof. This is their life before chiropractic care. This is what we did when they came in for chiropractic care. We did this exam. We found these findings. We gave them recommendations, and they have done awesome, and they've been a great patient, and they've gotten great results, okay? And in the future, this is what they can expect, and they're reaching their goals, etc., okay? And then lastly, how do you know if you have subluxation? This is such an important lead-in or transition to their individual report. This is where we want to be able to teach them how to give their report to you, okay? So how would you know if you have subluxation? This is where you have to be very deliberate. You must prepare the patient and equip them to be able to give you their report. You're going to equip them to be able to give you their report in the individual setting. And this, of course, will be the focus of our next module. I will teach you exactly how to make sure that the patient owns their problem, which frankly is the key to conversion. Patients must own their problem before you present a solution. I will be showing you exactly how to accomplish this during your objective findings review. Whether you are using postural pictures or thermal scans or core score, in our office, for this example, we're going to be talking about X-ray because in our office we use X-ray quite a bit in this portion of the report, okay? So when I'm reviewing the X-ray, remember the objective is I'm going to prepare them to give me their report, okay? So I'm going to teach them the phases of subluxation. I'm going to bring everybody up to the front of the room and really engage them. I'm going to tell them to pay attention because you're going to be reading your X-rays back to me. Man, that drives engagement through the roof, okay? And then I'm going to follow a very specific set of teaching bullets, which are going to turn into a very Socratic teaching method, okay, which is going through the normal, healthy, through the phases, 3 phases of subluxation degeneration. Ultimately, the general report must culminate by bringing their focus into 3 specific questions. Number 1, did you find the cause of my problem? In other words, did you confirm subluxation in my case? Number 2, did you catch it in time? In other words, what phase am I in? And number 3, what should I do next? We will continue this study of the report of findings in the next episode of the Remarkable Practice Academy. I'll see you there. Thanks again for joining me for another episode of the Remarkable Practice Academy. I am confident that you found this training highly valuable, but the truth is it only works if you use it. So train hard, stay focused, and make a difference out there. Remember, you're in the business of saving lives, so when business is good, everybody wins. I'm Dr. Stephen Franson. Go be remarkable.